What's up, everyone? It's Jacob, and we're back with a better impact. And we're going to be talking about reducing and reusing today. So, reducing and reusing is something very simple that everyone can do for the environment. But what does that mean exactly? Reducing obviously cuts back on the overall consumption of things, and reusing is reusing things to give them a second life as much as possible. Okay, so reducing and reusing is important because we want to think of recycling as like something as a last resort. So a lot of recycling centers around the country are cutting back on accepting glass. Let's talk about your glass jars. You know, you might have a glass jar laying around the house. This is an old peanut butter jar. But when it comes to recycling, glass is, and well, anything recycled is a very labor and resource intensive process. Recycling products, recycled things like your cans or your bottles, aren't actually used in your community. Usually, things that are recycled are shipped to other parts of the country or to other countries, which further gets into the sustainability of recycling. It's a lot of the times it's not. So let's get into talking about these glass jars you might use. You may have one or two jars, or you may have more, but there's plenty you can do with them. This is an optional step, but if you'd like to remove the label from your jar, first boil some water and then pour it into the jars and let sit for 5 minutes. This melts the adhesive from the label and makes it easier for you to remove the label. It doesn't always work, but it's worth a shot. You can use jars as food storage. We use this jar to store a cupcake from the bakery. We use this jar to make a ecosphere using sand from the thrift store and an aquatic plant from our aquarium. It's pretty cool to look at. There's snails in there. If you have a refill store near you, take your empty jars there and fill them up with laundry detergent, dish soap, or whatever else you need. If you don't need to refill, lots of these stores will take jar donations. If you have a bulk section at your grocery store, take your jars there and fill them up. We fill ours with spices and candy here. Use empty jars to propagate your plants. This is a great way to share plant clippings with your friends. Why buy new cups when you can just use an empty jar to drink from? They make great glasses, they look good, and taste great. Use them to save your money. Maybe save up for your next vacation. Use jars to hold your food scraps until they're ready to be composted. You can turn jars into planters, but because there's no drainage, we added corks to the bottom of it. This cactus has been thriving for years. Use jars to store pens, pencils, or other art supplies you may be using. If you end up with too many jars to make use of, post them on Craigslist or your local Facebook Buy Nothing group. Someone will take them off of your hands. So those were just a few ways that you could use a glass jar. If we missed something, or if you have a different way or your own way of using glass jars, make sure you throw it in the comments. And hopefully some of these ways of using glass jars helps you out. Make sure you remember to reduce and reuse, and we'll see you next time on A Better Impact.